Can you even imagine life without the internet? No streaming, no social media, no instant answers from Google. Sounds like a dystopian movie, right? But not too long ago, the internet didn't exist, not even as an idea for most people. It all began in 1969, when the US Department of Defense launched ARPANET, a tiny experimental network that connected just 4 computers across universities. The first message ever sent was supposed to say, Logan, but the system crashed after the first 2 letters. So technically, the first internet message was LO. At this point, it was just a tool for researchers to share information, but in the 1970s and 1980s, things started heating up. Local bulletin board systems like FidoNet emerged, allowing hobbyists to connect their computers over phone lines. Think of it as a text-only version of Reddit before Reddit was a thing. You could post messages, join forums, and even download files, all while tying up your parents' landline. By the early 80s, the TCP/IP protocol became the backbone of this growing network of networks. It was like teaching every computer in the world to speak the same language, which made connecting to different systems seamless. This innovation laid the groundwork for the global internet.
Welcome. You've got mail. You've got pictures. File's done. Goodbye.
And then came America Online in the late 80s and early 90s. It wasn't just an internet service, it was the internet experience for millions of people. Remember those CDs with 1,000 free hours? AOL made the internet accessible to everyday users with easy-to-use chat rooms, email, and even its own search engine. Around the same time, CompuServe and Prodigy were competing for attention too, offering early glimpses of what we now take for granted, instant communication and online content. In 1991, a scientist named Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. This was a huge leap forward. The web introduced websites, hyperlinks, and browsers, tools that made the internet easy to use. You didn't need to be a programmer anymore. By 1993, the first popular browser, Mosaic, hit the scene, paving the way for Internet Explorer and eventually Chrome. The 1990s were an internet gold rush. Search engines like Yahoo popped up to help you find websites, and by the late 90s, Google arrived with its revolutionary algorithm, which changed search forever. Meanwhile, email became a lifeline for communication. Services like Hotmail, launched in 1996, let you send messages instantly to anyone in the world. Online commerce also took off. In 1994, Amazon sold its first book. eBay followed in 1995, giving people a platform to auction off anything from old collectibles to the downright bizarre. It wasn't just big companies either. Craigslist, launched in 1995, created a digital version of classified ads that reshaped how we look for jobs, sell stuff, or even find a roommate. And let's not forget the social side of things. Platforms like ICQ and AOL Instant Messenger in the late 90s gave us our first taste of real-time online chatting. It was like texting before smartphones were even a thing. These tools laid the foundation for the social networks that would explode in the 2000s. By the end of the 90s, the internet had transformed from a niche technology into something millions of people relied on daily. It wasn't just about computers anymore, it was about connection, connecting people, ideas, and the entire world in ways nobody could have imagined back in 1969. Social networks started with a simple, powerful promise to connect us. In the early 2000s, platforms like Friendster and MySpace introduced the world to the idea of online communities, where you could build a profile, share updates, and interact with friends from anywhere. MySpace was revolutionary. You could express yourself with custom layouts, pick your top 8, and even showcase your favorite song. But it wasn't until Facebook launched in 2004 that social networking went mainstream. What began as a platform for college students quickly grew into a global phenomenon. By the late 2000s, Facebook wasn't just a place to connect with friends, it was a one-stop hub for photos, events, and news. Other platforms followed, each offering something unique. YouTube in 2005 transformed entertainment by letting anyone with a camera share videos. Twitter in 2006 simplified communication into 140-character updates, later expanded, making it the go-to platform for breaking news and real-time conversations. Instagram in 2010 brought visuals to the forefront, and Snapchat in 2011 introduced disappearing content, changing how we shared moments. By the mid-2010s, TikTok emerged, dominating the short-form video space and reshaping digital creativity. These platforms didn't just change how we communicated, they became our virtual homes. Social networks made us feel like we were part of something bigger, and for a while, it felt magical. But then, things started to change. As social networks grew, so did their hunger for profit. Platforms realized the more time users spent scrolling, the more ads they could show, and the more money they could make. Enter the algorithms. Algorithms became the invisible force behind our feeds, deciding what we saw and what we didn't. These systems learned from our behavior, using every like, comment, and share to figure out what grabbed our attention. At first it seemed harmless. The idea was to show us content we'd enjoy. But the algorithms didn't just learn what we liked, they learned what kept us hooked. And what keeps people hooked? Drama, controversy, and sensationalism. The internet transformed into a battleground of hot takes and outrage, where the loudest, most shocking voices always won. It didn't stop there. Algorithms also created echo chambers where we only saw content that reinforced our existing beliefs. Instead of bringing people together, social networks started driving them apart, fueling division and polarization. As if algorithms weren't enough, another player entered the scene: bots. Bots, automated accounts designed to mimic human behavior, started flooding social networks. At first, they were simple tools for spamming links or boosting posts, but as technology advanced, bots became eerily sophisticated. These bots didn't just post random nonsense, they were programmed to manipulate. They pretended to be real users, liking and commenting on content, starting arguments, and even pushing false narratives. Want to make a conspiracy theory trend? Deploy a bot army to spam hashtags and inflate its popularity. Want to attack a public figure or discredit a movement? Send waves of bots to harass and overwhelm them. By the mid-2000s teens, bots were everywhere. On platforms like Twitter, estimates suggested that up to 20% of active accounts were fake. On Facebook, bot farms created millions of accounts to influence everything from product reviews to political elections. Even Instagram wasn't safe, with fake accounts inflating likes and followers to make influencers appear more popular than they really were. The line between real and fake started to blur. You might argue with a stranger online, not realizing they weren't even a person. Meanwhile, these bots worked hand in hand with algorithms, amplifying divisive content and drowning out authentic voices. Social networks, once seen as tools for connection, had become tools for manipulation. Our feeds weren't shaped by friends and family anymore. They were shaped by corporations, algorithms, and bot armies. The internet was starting to feel fake, and this was just the beginning. As if bots and algorithms weren't enough, there's another force dismantling the internet as we once knew it: governments. What was once a free, open web is now being torn apart by censorship, regulations, and the growing desire of nations to control what happens online. It started with noble intentions, or so we were told. Governments claimed they wanted to protect citizens from harmful content, misinformation, and cyber threats. But in practice, these regulations often served another purpose: control. Take China, for example. Its internet is famously walled off by the Great Firewall, a system of censorship and surveillance so advanced that it blocks everything from Google to Instagram. Instead of a global web, China has created its own tightly controlled ecosystem, with platforms like WeChat, Baidu, and Tencent replacing international apps. On the surface, it's a fully functioning internet, but look closer and it's clear this isn't the open web. It's a carefully curated reality where dissenting voices are silenced and information is filtered through the lens of state approval. And then there's North Korea, where the internet is practically non-existent for ordinary citizens. The few people who do have access are restricted to a state-controlled intranet called Kwangmyong, which only includes propaganda, government-approved websites, and sanitized content. For most North Koreans, the idea of a global internet is nothing more than a rumor. In recent years, Russia has moved toward a similar model with its push for a sovereign internet. The Kremlin claims this is about cybersecurity, but critics see it as an effort to isolate the Russian web from the rest of the world, making it easier to censor dissent and control the flow of information. With measures like blocking opposition websites and monitoring citizens' online activity, Russia is working to reshape the internet into something that serves the state, not the people. But it's not just authoritarian regimes. Even democracies are playing their part in breaking the internet. In the United States, debates over censorship and national security have sparked calls to ban apps like TikTok, which lawmakers claim poses a threat due to its Chinese ownership. Meanwhile, social media platforms face increasing pressure to regulate content, leading to accusations of bias and censorship. Whether it's flagging posts, banning accounts, or tweaking algorithms, these actions raise a troubling question. Who gets to decide what we can and can't see? So now TikTok is banned, then unbanned, and now Trump wants to buy it. It sounds less repressively, but isn't it a still crime against app creators and users' freedom? The European Union, on the other hand, has taken a different route: regulation. From the General Data Protection Regulation to the Digital Services Act, the EU has introduced sweeping rules designed to protect privacy and regulate online platforms. But in doing so, it's created a maze of bureaucracy that's stifling innovation and making it harder for smaller companies to compete. And let's not forget its actions against platforms like Telegram, which faced bans and restrictions in several EU countries due to its refusal to hand over user data. These efforts, while different in style, all lead to the same outcome. The internet is becoming fragmented. What once felt like a single, interconnected web is now splintering into pieces. Each country, or even region, is carving out its own version of the internet, one that aligns with its politics, values, and goals. This process, often referred to as the splinternet, is creating barriers where there used to be bridges. In the early days, we believed the web was eternal, a living museum preserving our thoughts, jokes, and research for future generations. But actually, the internet forgets faster than we ever imagined. Link rot creeps in when hyperlinks stop working, websites go offline, domains expire, or files get relocated. The result? A 404 error where once there was precious data. Some studies suggest a quarter of all web links die within 2 years. You might revisit an article you loved a while back and poof, it's gone. Academic papers lose references. Old forums vanish. Entire digital ecosystems disappear into the void. The tragedy isn't just technical, it's cultural. Once treasured music, memes, essays, and communities slip from memory, leaving behind the digital equivalent of abandoned buildings. We do have archiving projects like the Wayback Machine, but with so many sites emerging and disappearing, it's impossible to save it all. Every day, the internet's past dissolves, chunk by chunk. As if rotting links and paranoid governments weren't enough, AI-generated content now floods the internet with an ocean of drivel. Initially, AI was a cool novelty. It completed our email sentences, recommended songs, or generated entertaining images. Then it started churning out spam blogs, fake product reviews, deepfake videos, and phony social media posts, entirely manufactured illusions optimized to trick algorithms, and sometimes us. Enter the dead internet theory, which proposes that the bulk of content online might already be AI-crafted. Instead of human voices, we might be reading walls of text regurgitated by machine logic. Social networks become ghost towns populated by automated accounts. Genuine human creativity suffocates under an avalanche of synthetic blur. We adapt by creating content designed to please algorithms, not people. The lines between reality and simulation blur. Are we interacting with authentic voices or skillfully programmed illusions? Nobody can tell for sure, but who cares? Everything can be done with pleasure or without pleasure, so we might as well keep scrolling. Then came 2024, the year hacking went supernova. Attacks skyrocketed, culminating in a direct strike on the Internet Archive, the organization behind the beloved Wayback Machine. For digital historians and journalists, that was like bombing a library of world heritage. Over 31 million user accounts were compromised, with email addresses and hashed passwords stolen. More chillingly, archived content was deliberately erased. History wiped out with a keystroke. Speculation abounds. Maybe it was hacktivists exposing flaws in centralized archives, or maybe state-sponsored agents wanted to delete evidence that was politically inconvenient. A mysterious group calling themselves SN Black Meta claimed responsibility, but no one really knows who they are or why they did it. The attack also hinted at AI-driven infiltration tools that adapt in real time, making them nearly impossible to stop. If that's our new reality, the future of cyber warfare looks downright dystopian. The big question now is whether our digital heritage is safe anywhere. If the best-intentioned archiving system can be compromised, is the truth itself up for grabs? One day you see a web page, the next day someone erases it, and the memory of it disappears along with the link. But this is not the end. Don't get your hopes up. Now let's get weird. Rumors are swirling that a shadowy group, maybe a government, maybe terrorists, maybe hackers with a cosmic sense of irony, has become obsessed with the Mandela effect. If you're unfamiliar, the Mandela effect is that phenomenon where large groups of people distinctly remember something happening one way, only to find out it never actually happened that way at all. Why would a powerful collective care? Because if you can manipulate collective memory, you can control the narrative. These conspirators, let's call them the 2025 Project, have allegedly been working to systematically destroy links links, archives, and even living witnesses who might recall the truth. The recent hack on the Internet Archive suddenly looks less random. It could be part of a grand attempt to vanish inconvenient facts, making it easier to rewrite history. Over time, subtle changes slip in. Logos shift colors, quotes morph, events are relabeled. Slowly, we start to misremember everything. Are they doing it for political gain, for money, for some twisted utopian dream? Nobody knows. Paranoid speculation runs rampant. Secret labs hoarding data backups in sealed bunkers, operatives seizing physical copies of newspapers, entire social media archives being purged. And then little by little, a new official history emerges. People question their own memories, shrug and move on, because let's face it, who has time to fact-check the entire universe? It sounds like sci-fi or a bizarre psychological thriller, but the lines are blurrier every day. If reality can be edited out of existence, maybe we're all living a rerun of a story that never truly aired in the first place. So here we are at the end of another digital labyrinth, where the internet decomposes in real time, bots impersonate us, governments slice the web into feudal territories, and a secretive group might be rewriting our collective memory for fun and profit. Pretty grim, right? But relax, you can't change anything. After all, everything can be done with pleasure or without pleasure, so you might as well pick your poison and enjoy the show. We can complain about AI garbage flooding our feeds, or the slow extinction of the open web, but there's a morbid comfort in knowing that we're all stuck in the same meltdown together. The dead internet is dying faster than ever, and maybe we'll adapt, or maybe we'll just keep refreshing the feed, hoping for one last shred of genuine humanity. Either way, I'm all over it. Let's keep digging through the digital wreckage. Maybe we'll stumble upon something real before it disappears for good. But who cares? In the grand scheme, the rot is unstoppable. The best we can do is laugh at the absurdity, try to be the best at brain rot, and carry on until someone or something shuts off the last server. After all, this is Alban, and this has been the hair hole dive you didn't know you needed. See you on the other side.